Welcome to Inner and Outer Worlds.
What's up, bitches? Welcome to another episode of Inner and Outer Worlds with Zach and Jordan. So, we have another trip report episode for you guys.
Why are you talking like this?
And this time, Jordan actually joined me. Woohoo!
Woo!
And, homie of the show, Jacob Jeremy.
JJ.
JJ. Jakey. Jake the Flake, who was supposed to do this episode with us and fucking had to do some investment shit instead. But we support your future. We support your investments.
Support.
We'll do our best to talk about all the realizations that we had with this trip and the substance used, the mind-altering substance used this time was LSD.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what it stands for? I don't.
It's lysergic acid diethylamide, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's similar to like psilocybin, which is in shrooms, which activates the 5-HT2A receptor, which, if you recall from our alien information theory episode 2, we talk about how that plays in brain function and how our brain constructs reality and uses these serotonin receptors. In short, that 5-HT2A increases brain excitability and promotes coordination between regions of the brain that wouldn't normally be communicating with one another. So it causes these like runaway feedback loops of excitation in your brain, and you access all sorts of new cool states. Yeah, that's the short of it.
It was sick. It was so cool. Honestly,
it was great.
For a big part of the day, it was the best day of my life. Like, it was the coolest experience I can say I have ever had. And you don't have to do it if you don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that for myself. And I will not be abusing this thing.
Mom.
Yeah.
Love you, Mom.
Rosanna, I will not be abusing. Don't worry about your kids. We're good.
Yeah. Oh, I should mention the drug itself is like purely non-toxic. Like, you can't take an amount that would physically harm you. Obviously, if you are too messed up from it and like wander into traffic or something, that's like where people go wrong with it. But if you're doing it in a safe environment and whatnot, it's like physically non-toxic. But obviously you could get psychological effects happening if you took too much. But
yeah,
that's
dosage is important.
That's why you control
Keep
for
it safe.
dosages and control your environment
and get it from a good source. Like, we do not get our substances from the street. We go to the store now, where we're lucky to live in BC, in Vancouver, where we go to a place called Coca Leaf Cafe. Highly recommend. They have government exceptions. The government approves of their products, and it's been this guy that makes everything synthetically and very clean, and approved by the old government. Whether that's a good thing or bad, I don't know about the government, but it's safe, and we're here to tell the story.
Yeah, why don't you start off with some fun, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about.
So yeah, the dosage that we took, well, that I took and JJ took, was 220 micrograms, which is a decent dose, apparently. This was one tab from the store each. Jordan took half of that, which was 110 micrograms, and he still had a great time.
Yeah, very, very intense, strong time, but it was good. It was fun. Actually, I was just reading like the inventor of LSD, the guy who discovered it, like the very first trip. Well, he kind of like accidentally took a bit, so it wasn't really known how much he took that time, and was like, oh, this is weird, funky effect. And the second time he intentionally took it, he took around what you took, like 220. It said like 250. He thought that would be like a like low mild dose that he could kind of gauge what's going on, but it turns out to be quite a strong dose where it's like full on. So that was you're in good company with that.
It's funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, the onset is very similar to mushrooms for those of you who have tried that, and a bit of uncomfortable feeling as it's setting in, but very familiar for myself at least, who's tried mushrooms a decent amount of times.
Yeah, there's some like weird belly feeling, some like half burps coming out, and
yeah,
you're like,
a little
what's going
gassy, a
on?
little strange.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure serotonin is involved in like your stomach function as well. So I think that's probably why, but I'd have to look into what's going on there.
Yeah, like I started to feel very slight visuals coming on, and then it was like this big wave of happiness
Mm-hmm.
of like the serotonin.
Well, you should say where we were in the most fucking beautiful place on earth too, on the beach in White Rock with mountains.
So first we started off JJ's apartment that overlooks the beach, which is a gorgeous spot overlooking the White Rock Beach.
Yeah, we'll put pictures to the video. We took a few pictures, not too many. Zach
Yeah.
might put me playing piano on there. We'll see.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go on.
And then made our way down to the beach, and as soon as we got to the beach, it was like we were now in an album of dark, beachy 60s vibes, living it like inside a painting is basically how it felt. All the surroundings are gorgeous there, whether you're on a substance or not. It's just a gorgeous beach, but when you are on this substance, everything was so magical to me. Like every view, the mountains, the beach, the water, the people enjoying the beach, everything was just on another level. There was like waves, like a desert mirage kind of as my visual field, but also like the red, green, and blue colors coming off of everything, like wavy, kind of like the what you told us about light near the end of the night. I'll probably save that till
Save that till later. But
the sequence of events where Jordan eventually told us about that. But I'll bring it back to when we first got on the beach, and it was just an incredible beach walk. I'll let you comment on it too.
yeah, like so basically the tide was just pulling out as we were getting to the beach. So like as we're walking and our like trip is coming on, and like we're expanding with the world and becoming more in touch with the world, the ocean was also, or I'd say the beach was also expanding away from us and kind of
Time was
growing
going lower and lower.
growing dynamically with us as we were like growing dynamically into the environment. So that was like really beautiful. And we could like, I'd say because you're more in touch with nature, you're like reading energetic patterns in nature like more intuitively. Like it just feels like you're one with the ocean and beach and like the wind. It was just like very holistic and connected. Like I felt like you could feel like the swells of like the water still in the sand and like the life that's underneath the sand. I don't know what those are, but those little
Crabs maybe.
yeah,
under
those
the
little
sand.
bubbles that come up, and it just like feels like very organic and natural. It's just cool to feel like in touch with nature on like a fundamental level.
Totally.
Yeah, it feels like we forget. Like we can abstractly remember or recall that we're one with nature, but like to actually feel it in your bones is super awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So yeah,
But
we walked.
the ever-changing landscape with our ever-changing like psyche was such a cool dynamic to experience both at the same time.
Yeah, so we walked along the beach for like, I don't know, a couple miles. I don't know how long that went. And okay, wait, yeah, maybe that's like glossing over some things. Like, what are some details of the beach, from your perspective that you?
Yeah, like I said, it was like the green, red, and blue like light waves coming off of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I could like very much see that it was like every psychedelic music video that
feels like
people
you're
have
in, like,
potentially ever seen. Like it was just like that. Like
Yeah.
they do a great job in mimicking those experiences, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously from people who have tried this kind of stuff, and then they go into media production and try and recreate those experiences. That, like, I find them very spot on.
Yeah, I'll bring up the funny story we had here. So we were walking on like the pathway beside the beach, and kind of just like looking into the distance, seeing like where we want to go. And JJ and I look in the distance, and we see on the beach this massive like blue globe thing. It looks like it's this big inflated, cool, just something out there, and we couldn't really place what it was.
They were making it sound like it was as big as like a dome, like as big as the Sphere in Vegas or something. Like
to us,
they're
this
like,
was
wow, look at that thing in the distance. And I'm looking for this massive thing. I'm like, are you kidding me? Where is it? And they're like, how are you not seeing it, you idiot? And it was like, finally I did see it in the distance, and I was like, wow, like that thing looks very cool. Like this geometric blue shape that was like brighter than every other item on the beach, and
it was like
and larger. It
larger
wasn't
than
super big, but it was like
but like larger
decently
than
big when I finally
larger
did
than a
zero in on
person,
it.
like, and it was very spherical and just seemed kind of magical.
Well, it was spherical, but also with like edges that looked very like unlike anything I've ever seen before. It was a mystery, this thing. It was so super cool. We were like, is that thing there, or are we hallucinating this thing, or what is that?
So we like made our headway towards that thing, and we're like, okay, this is our mission to like get to this thing and investigate, because
we're getting closer and closer, and it's remaining the same as it looked like in the distance. And like, this is a cool geometric shape, guys. Like, I wonder what this is.
As we get closer, we realized like maybe a couple 100 meters away that this was just a couple of umbrellas. So we're like, well, this is still like kind of cool. Like, this guy's got a dope umbrella setup. Like, it's still a magical journey that we've decided to go on and investigate this.
But then like, it was weird because in the distance this thing was unmoving, and then the closer we got, we realized these umbrellas were being held onto for dear life by this guy. And like, he was having a tough time to like manage them in the wind away. And like, they were about to like fly off in the distance if it wasn't for him like being a bigger dude and like trying to hold them with all his might, with the wind picking up so much.
The second we got to where he was, he collapsed the umbrellas, and it was like, it was very poetic or something. It was like it was like the Wizard of Oz type thing, where it's like you like think it's this massive orchestrator grand plan thing, and then you realize it's just like a dude behind a curtain. Like,
totally,
it's like,
yeah, it was poetic in the sense that like life can seem so majestic and amazing, but really it's just some dude hanging on for dear life on the other side, and that's the reality. Like, it's just everyone doing their best.
Yeah, we all lost it laughing once we like passed this guy. I feel bad if he like thought we were laughing at him like struggling with the umbrellas, which we kind of were, but it was more like laughing at just the scenario,
our hype around this item and the reality of what it was.
It's like as humans, we like to like put our faith in something like grander than ourselves, but then you can realize it's just like a couple like scammers that are messing with you, or like something just like held up by a house of cards, but that humans have constructed or something. It was a funny moment.
Yeah. The universe or God was laughing at us and with us in that moment, for sure. And then is that it for the beach that
we went to like circle back after that, and
went to circle back. I had to piss, which became an emergency, so I fucking beelined it off the beach. And
we like walked along the train tracks, and then you went there, and then what else?
And then Jordan later had to piss, and we ended up walking back on the beach, but through this native territory section of the beach. And it was fenced off, but people were walking in there like it was like a little green area park, and it was nice looking, so we decided to take that on the way back.
Yeah.
But then Jordan had to take a leak and wasn't sure if this was like a native burial ground and if he was going to get arrested.
I was
or
so
something.
worried. I was like, I'm not going to pee here. I am not going to do it. And then we got to the end of the park, and we thought there would be an exit there. but it's just gated in, and it said no trespassing. So I became so worried that we were trespassing in like a land that's not ours, and I was like, as a colonial like white person,
man.
white person here, I'm like, I don't belong here. I would like started to panic. And Zach's friend is just like, what is the issue here? Like, first of all,
Take a leak. You're a man.
take a
Fucking
leak, it's all good.
Pull over.
Yeah.
Watch, I'm taking a leak. You take a leak now. Fuck.
And
Get
then
over
we didn't want to circle back and walk the remainder of the park, so like, also we didn't get into like how other strangers' energies like impact yours, but I like turned around after this, and there's this like lady walking behind us, like towards us, and I started to panic because I was like, oh my gosh, I think we're trespassing. She's gonna come like get us in trouble and stuff. So then kind of just independently, Zach and his friend were like, well, we don't want to circle back. Let's hop the fence here. So they just jumped the fence to get back onto the main road. And I'm in my head, I'm panicking because I'm like, we're running.
No trespassing on the fence.
Yeah, so I'm like, we're running away from this person now. That's gonna get us arrested. So I like once I cleared over the fence though, I was completely at peace though.
Like freed you out of your own mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Creating this false.
That's the thing with like the serotonin excitability is like, and this is also why like MK Ultra was a thing, where the CIA was trying to brainwash people using LSD, is because your brain's much more suggestible. Like tiny little thoughts can lead to runaway worldviews. So like just me thinking like I'm gonna get in trouble, no trespassing, this lady's like behind us, like just those three things built a whole scenario in my head of like, I'm breaking the law, this is terrible. And yeah,
when you're high as a kite, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, this is disastrous. But then we got out of there and life was good. We were back on the street and just chilling. But
okay, two things I want to segue that into. The first is that Jacob was always ahead of us, leading the way for most of this walk, and every time we would go up to meet with him at a further checkpoint, he would be sitting there and like lounging as if he'd been there for hours, just like sprawled out, stretched, like king of that spot. Every spot he was at, he was like it was like picturesque. He was like a monk on a mountain, like, exactly, on every ledge that he was at, and just like chilling like a villain. Like this is his spot and he's been there forevermore, and like, oh hey, what's up guys, welcome to my lair.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck,
it's like he had a
this guy I swear must have only been here for a minute, but he looks like he's been here for an eternity.
Yeah, he was
every spot he stopped at was like that. It was nuts.
He was so zenned out and just like awaiting us as like our quest master. It's like if you've ever played an MMO game and you like complete some portion of a quest, and then it's like, oh, how'd the quest master get over here? He just got a new quest for you.
Fucking teleportation abilities.
Yeah.
Okay, and that leads me to the pockets of energy, which was to me the coolest part of the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were tripping, we were observing that it felt like energetically we had a massive pocket of energy around us, like the three of us especially, where everywhere we went we had people's attention. Like it was like we would start approaching an environment like and be, let's say, within 100 feet of people, but like as soon as we were within that 100 feet, like we'd get all the eyes of everyone around us. We were like, whoa, that's weird. And then it wasn't just around us though. Like we would approach a new group of people, and like before like an event would take place, you would feel drawn to this pocket of energy that was around a crowd. And then all of a sudden something would happen in that crowd, whether like kids jumped around or some new event happened after you get that sense of there's something about to go down here, and then everyone would look at that direction after that happened. But it was like so consistent so many times. Either we were the pocket of energy, or like we observed a pocket of energy and then everyone else noticed an event take place there very soon after, which was crazy to me. It was almost like psychic, but like very visceral feeling, like this is the area of focus now. And then something would play out in that
Mhm.
area.
Well, yeah, to me it felt like, because in general we felt more at tune with nature, like the ocean and stuff, and just like the ongoings of the world. And then as well, like felt more in line with like animals, where animals are close to nature as well, just automatically. Um, so then when we'd pass like dogs and stuff, it felt like we would pick up on dog energy like very immediately. Like Jacob would kind of like look over and like sense that there's gonna be like energy coming from these dogs, and then these dogs would start like barking. And he said he noticed that a bunch of times, and I noticed that too.
Yeah.
And yeah, like with children, I feel like children are more in tune with these natural patterns and whatnot. And I don't know what that is, like if there's like a scientific explanation for this or what's going on, but to me it definitely felt like a real energetic field that I was more in tune with.
It was too consistent to ignore. It was like,
Yeah.
this isn't just happening once or twice or even 5 times. It happened like 20 times where we knew exactly where people's attention would end up, and then
Yeah, well, it was
everyone would end up looking at that spot that we felt it
even
towards.
like people's vibes. You could feel like emotional valence towards people. Like there was these like teens to like 20-year-olds who like kind of looked like Russian mobsters walking by, and like it just like felt like dark, like up to no good vibes. Like I felt that like in my bones. With children, like watching the train, I felt like their awe for the train and like their childlike wonder for this huge vehicle, like boom 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 boom. But like at first the train is just a loud noise and too much for someone.
Almost
that's
too much when you're in that state.
when you're in that state.
Yeah, it's very loud and annoying.
Or alternatively, like when you're sober, it's just a train. Like we've seen trains a million times, so like both of those are like
You kind of ignore
one
it.
extreme or the other. But then like seeing children looking at that, it's like you could feel this like wonder deep down in you and like remember what that was like as a kid, and then just kind of viewing the train from that point of view is also super cool.
Yeah.
It felt like you're able to take the perspective of people like at will almost. It's like, oh, I want to see what a child is viewing right now, and you can like kind of tune into that.
Totally.
Same with like birds or dogs or something. Like
Yeah.
it felt nice that way.
I remember you pointing out this one baby pointing at and the baby was pointing at the train and like had his mouth like jaw dropping to the floor because it was so wowed, and he was like, whoa, like look at the train as if you're that kid. And then I did, and it was like, holy shit, actually, like this is a fucking event happening. Like,
Yeah.
this is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so Jacob left us. He was like in a rush to get home because he just wanted to.
First the spot.
Yeah. Oh, like the steps?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of ties into where we would find him as like a monk on a mountaintop.
Yeah, but like
there's these beautiful like mosaic steps that kind of, if you've been to White Rock, you'll know, but if not, it's like a very vertical town on a cliff, like with high angled streets. So like when you're on the beachfront, to get one street up, it's like a giant climb, like from wherever you are. It's just like very steep cliffs. So
it's like a 60-degree
yeah, like
slope
something like
to
that. So
walk up.
we were, it was like hustle bustle. There's like dense people. We wanted to kind of get away from that. And Jacob's like, oh, I know a spot, let's go. So he like rips ahead through the crowds and kind of causes a ruckus. Like everyone's like, what the hell is this guy speed walking through us for? So Zach and I are just chilling behind, and that's why he's like arriving at these destinations before us to enter this monk mode.
We're just walking at normal pace, and
Yeah.
he's like ripping and roaring through the crowd.
Yeah, but then he leads us to this like mosaic step thing that leads to the street up, which was much calmer, and like there's nice benches.
My
on
God,
top.
was it majestic
Yeah, it
when we
was
got
super-
there.
we have a picture of that. We'll put the pictures on the
Yeah,
on
the pictures
video.
do zero justice. Okay, first of all, pictures don't do beautiful scenery justice as it is, but when you're under that
Yeah.
influence, like every viewpoint and nature point was like the most beautiful like
Mhm.
garden
especially with
on earth.
especially with emotional valence to it, like going from this is too much. This is hustle bustle, like
Crowds,
crowded, anxious, to like then being free. It's like
the relief of like a quiet viewpoint, and like
it's like sorry, I keep cutting you off. If you listen to Pink Floyd Time song and you hear all the clocks at the beginning and it's super anxious, like bring, 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 and then it goes into like this smooth, beautiful like chord that just rings through. It's like, okay, Pink Floyd was definitely on acid when they were recording this, because it's like this has emotional valence from scene to scene, and that view was and like a safe haven. There's that nice chord at the beginning of Time. You're like, okay, everything's okay.
Totally. And on top of that, those stairs, it felt like you were a king on his castle, like overlooking the ocean in like, I don't know, some ancient time, or I also got vibes of feeling like we were the owners of Vice City, like with the richest guys in the fucking city, and there's like palm trees and water just and sun beating down on you, and it was like we were in a palace.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was cool how like just to appreciate those things even more, and to continuously seeing like waves and colors and patterns come off everything. Jordan and I had quite a few Habibi moments.
We were
Habibi means my love in Arabic. And
we had a realization. Do you want to explain?
No, go ahead. I'll share what I was gonna after.
Well, we're sitting on a bench. So Jacob had left us to go to his house. So we're like chilling, walking slowly. We sit down on a bench and like just watching the ocean, and like put our arms around each other, like love, like just much love and support for each other as fellow Habibis. I forgot exactly what we said, but I don't remember exactly. Do you remember?
I don't know. It was just like we were like, wow, this is Habibi moments, and we were like, what if there's actually like not a lot of gays in Lebanon, and it's just all like brotherly love between the Habibi fucking squads, and it's all just family love, but it's like looks like there's so many gays everywhere.
Well, they're like holding pinkies, like
they're holding. Yeah, that wasn't quite us, but it was almost us yesterday.
Yeah,
just
like
melting into the bench together and holding each other in each other's
just
embrace.
Arms around each other.
I've never connected to you more than that.
No, it's like, oh, this is my freaking brother, man. We grew up together. This is so awesome. Like I was saying to Zach, it's like one thing to think of your family abstractly, of like, this is my brother. He serves XYZ purpose in my life. Like I do XYZ with him.
I see him on weekends.
I see him on
whatever.
like, this is like our abstract relationship, but like to have his presence physically there and like felt,
to feel each other in that state,
connecting. It's like that's.
And then like later at JJ's apartment, like we were literally like grabbing each other's face and staring at each other in the eyes, like, holy fuck, like this is so dope.
You're real.
That I've got to experience my life with you, and like I fucking love you so much, and we've got to see each other grow up, and and just like
I was like, do we kiss now? Ultimate Habibi transcendence.
We drew the line there at the fucking smooches, but so many fucking hugs exchanged, and it was so sick, man.
Yeah, the white culture doesn't know what they're missing with these Habibi moments.
Yeah, man. Embrace your bros, man. Embrace your fucking siblings.
Give your bro a hug.
Give your bro a hug. Give your friend a hug. Like, it's so sick to be sharing life together, and I hope we carry that over into all our relationships.
No, don't touch me. Oh, okay. No, that was good. Into other relationships,
we also had some deep chats about speaking of relationships, some of the important relationships in our lives and how to approach them differently, which was very valuable.
Yeah. Do you want to elaborate, or like not on details, but on like maybe the ability to introspect, like what that feels like to like meta-analyze your life?
Yeah, I mean, like in a similar way to different psychedelics we've talked about on this podcast, it takes you out of, so like when you are under the influence of a different psychedelic, it takes you out of the normal frameworks of mind that you normally see life through, and you're able to take a different angle on things. And that's so valuable in the way that you see relationships, because you could have been approaching a certain relationship with a certain person in a way for your whole life, and you're not seeing things from a different angle, where if you approach it in a different way, it could tremendously improve the connection between you both.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, is there anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, like the ability to, like I said, like meta-analyze your life. Like it's almost like viewing yourself from a third-person perspective and being like, oh, like these are the patterns I engage in. Like most of these are not out of my volition. They're like kind of programmed into me based on other various reasons, like culture. Like I behave this way because of like cultural forces or because of like economic forces or whatever. Like I think we all at some point in the room were like, actually it feels like we've been on autopilot for like much of the last like 5 years. And like obviously there's like conscious choices we make within that, but overall it felt quite salient that we were kind of not making decisions at important points in our life, and it's sort of just like following the ebb and flow of our world, and that's not the best way to live, because then you're prone to all this programming that gets done on you, like especially by culture or by like media or whoever's like orchestrating like you to, for instance, like you to doom scroll on your phone or something. It's like these are forces that are trying to control your behavior, and to like step out of that and just be like, wow, this is not the life I want to be living. I don't want
to be wasting this much time on my phone or what, for example.
Or like I don't want to engage in this behavior with this person I love and care about or something like that. And you can kind of view life from a new perspective.
Totally. And yeah, in terms of relationships, like also analyzing how within a family dynamic, for example, how you can approach the whole family in the same way every time, which is fine in a general sense, but in terms of connecting with your family deeper, you have to approach it on an individual by individual basis. And that's kind of a big realization I had, where I was approaching many members in my family in the same generic way that I approach my family, but without giving enough thought to how I can approach each individual better within that family in different ways from one another, because I know their different personalities, and use those different methods to just have a deeper feeling connected relationship with them, even though it's all good with everyone. But it's
exactly. It's like
there's another level available, and I take responsibility for the way I approach it now. And like I will strive to have an even better connection with the people I care about now. Yeah,
that kind of ties into ideals, but I don't know if you want to get into that.
Yeah, that's a smooth transition in that.
Yeah, so in line with like behaving on autopilot, and feeling like we're programmed out of our own control by these external forces. This kind of made me realize that choosing an ideal or a set of ideals in your life to like to stand by, to put your flag in the ground and like kind of live life by a set of ideals that are unwavering. For instance, people do this with religious morality, where like they behave in a certain way no matter what because of their religious ideals. Other people do this like with business ideals, like they develop goals and ambitions for their business and how they act with people, and like this is their set of ideals. They like put these in place, and hopefully those are ethical, but like lots of people are scummy and don't. But either way, business people are very effective because they consciously think of like these ideal foundations for their life to purposefully go out and accomplish things. And I and JJ realized that we don't really have a strong foundation of like an ideal way to live and express ourselves. Like Zach a bit had a bit more grounding because
a little bit. I'll expand on that after, but
well, I'll just say like because of your spiritual connection to the world, like you have this like
this pillar, I
this
guess, that
pillar,
you guys might not have quite yet.
exactly, yeah, where like it gives you purpose, it gives you like
A foundation to build on, kind of.
yeah, it gives you a way to act in the world where everything's okay and you're kind of at peace with your actions and your actions have intention because it all stems from this good place that you've felt deep down of like it's all good, we're all part of this like source energy, and like life life doesn't expect anything of me, so it's up to me to just do cool stuff while I'm around, like that type of philosophy.
Yeah, definitely. And mixed in also, I would add, with unity. Like, unity feels like the one pillar I really have of how to live by, and that can be like connecting people in my family or seeing ourselves as one with nature, and we should like treat animals and plants and each other like we're all one, like we all stem from the same being, or like we all stem from the same energy, which we technically do, all originating from the Big Bang and the energy that came from that. So like we are closer connected with all that is, in a very deep and intimate way. Like the air that we breathe, the water that we're made of in our bodies, the food that we eat literally make us up, and without those things we would not exist. So we're so deeply connected to reality in ways that we don't even realize. And like I was saying with the pockets of energy, there's states that we can enter in different substances that make you realize, wow, we're even more connected to our environment than we realize, than just the physical matter ways, but also like in a influential way, which I'll touch on too now. Creativity is so influential, and I never felt how influential it is until yesterday, on the whole world. Like of course the media and like artists in terms of their paintings or their music or
movies
or so many things that are created in the world, like every invention, everything, science, creations, engineering, like everything is based on creativity, and the biggest things that influence a generation are the most creative things. Technologically, musically, like those things that come through people are what influences society most of the time in positive ways, which is a beautiful thing about creativity. And that's something that I want to harness more to help make the world a better place through art, or even the creation of this podcast. Like it just gave me an extra like motivation to make this something valuable.
Like we were talking about creativity, and like JJ's a big fan of Rick Rubin, and it's definitely not an original thought of his, but it's a very potent one, where it's like, if you put out work that is incapable of being hated, that's not quite far enough, because if it's not able to be hated, then it's not able to be loved to a level that is like of true creation. Like if you just put out something with half-ass effort, that's just okay.
Or like you try to cater to the masses.
Or try to cater to everyone. It's like, this will just be liked kind of by everyone.
In a smaller way than it could.
Exactly. So if it can be loved truly by people, then it can also be hated, and you have to be willing to put that out there, and you might as well do that with your full expression of who you are, because there's no reason to try to mimic other people. Like, there obviously you can follow in other people's footsteps and learn from them, but to ultimately express yourself through whatever act of creation. So I think we both felt that in many ways for different aspects of our life.
Yeah, it made me realize, like, the goal is to create a niche following with whatever you put out into the world. It's not about catering to the entire society, because
Yeah.
no product is going to be for literally everyone on earth. No art is going to be for literally everyone on earth. We all have different preferences, and that's what makes our uniqueness beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And to try and cater to people around you or fads and stuff is inauthentic to who we actually are, and we should just create from a deep
Yeah.
a deep place within us.
Like cater
and
to
deep
yourself.
inspiration, yeah.
Like make something for yourself. Like, what would I want to listen to with music? What painting would I love to see in this world? And like, if it's good enough, if it's truly an expression of yourself, then people will like come to it. It's not like you're making these things for other people.
Yeah, or like, what creation or invention do I genuinely want to see in the world that would benefit my own life? Not just like, what does the world need? Like, what would be something that I truly want to see in the world? And I feel like that energy going behind things creates the true magic.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of creativity, yeah, there was some like, at some point we were kind of jamming, playing some music. Energy was a little chaotic, and like there were some relationship talks going on between Zach and JJ, and things were like a little intense. So I sat down at the keyboard, and I was just like, this needs to mellow out. This needs to like I need to bring some beauty into this moment, because it's getting a little like hectic. So I just started playing my classical piano pieces that I love and think are beautiful. And man, that was an experience, I think, for all of us.
Yeah.
Do you want to say what your experience with that?
So, okay, first it was JJ playing guitar, and it was so sick, like the harmonies of his chords and stuff, and like just the acoustics of the room was so great. And then Jordan brought it to another level with his piano, and like those classical songs tell such a story, every single one of them, and there's so many parts of those songs that like create a true masterpiece, and it takes you for such a emotional ride. And generally the songs, at least that you play, are like a very positive and joyful vibe to each of them.
Yeah,
but,
Zach will,
like taking you on a ride throughout the whole thing, and it was honestly helping me like find closure in like past breakups and just so many things that were coming through me just from the music. It was so beautiful to experience. It was healing.
That's awesome. Because when I like drink, for instance, like maybe a couple beers, I can play my piano pieces like maybe even better than sober. But after like 3-4 beers or drinks, I am incapable of playing. It like destroys the connections in my brain that allow me to express this music. And I thought this would be the case because I was like feeling quite like in a different state of mind. But I sat down on the keys, and it was like almost like I was possessed by the spirit of the composer that I was playing the song of. It was so
cool, man.
It's like the composer put out a computer program into the universe, which is these notes of music, and that the program is just like running itself through me. And I didn't even like, I think most musicians will know this, like when you're playing, especially by muscle memory, it's like you are kind of watching yourself do it, and if you try to consciously intervene with that, you kind of destroy what's going on. Like that's when I make mistakes playing piano, is when I like start to think of what notes come next. Like if I just distance myself and just watch myself play, that's when the song comes through my fingers. And I felt that like ultimately playing the music.
Totally.
And then especially like the emotion, like when you see a pro pianist play a song, you see them like so emotionally into the music. And like, yeah, I was definitely feeling that extremely yesterday. And the vibes in the room just immediately got like so much calmer and beautiful.
Yeah, you're so like impactful with our vibe. It was crazy.
Yeah, and just like the feeling of the keys on my fingers was so cool. It was like kind of moving my hands through water or something. Like it just like flowed. It was just very organic and like natural feeling. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I can definitely see like why the Beatles or other bands like went through crazy transformations like when they got exposed to this drug, and made some really good music because they had the foundations, but it just expands your mind to explore different realms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ringo's head in the movie Dewey Cox comes to mind when he sticks his head through the side of the picture and is like, "Would you like some more LSD?" But
Yeah.
thankfully we didn't do more. It was just the one tab, but it was yeah, it was super moving to hear Jordan play and to hear JJ play guitar. And I tried to jam along with them, but they shut me down quick when I was on the keyboard because it just sounded like a child bashing keys. I don't know keys well enough to harmonize perfectly with guitar, but
Yeah, nothing
it was a good
personal,
time. Kid. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Not too much. Let's see. We watched Donnie Darko later at night. That was that was a lot of fun. That movie is a trip on its own, so that was fun to watch under the influence.
Yeah.
I still don't know what that movie's about.
Me neither.
I love
It's a
every
trippy
second
movie.
of it. It's a great vibe. Just
Yeah.
like the new wave 80s music and like cinematography is awesome.
Yeah. What was some of the science you were telling us about light? Because that was a very interesting part of the evening.
Yeah, because like JJ asked me what makes a shirt white or what makes it black. Yeah, so basically I was telling them about like the electromagnetic spectrum of light and how we see some range of frequencies, and specifically our eyes are tuned to like finding certain like 3 specific ranges, like what we call red, green, and blue, but mathematically and like physically these waves are just a certain frequency of light.
It was interesting because I was seeing those red, green, and blue waves come off of everything at all times, and it was those colors only.
Yeah.
So I was perceiving those wavelengths in a completely different way, where they were coming off of everything at all times rather than just specific items shooting off the specific color that they're like. A blue jacket that I'm looking at right now is shooting off blue and absorbing all the other colors, and that's why I see it as blue.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
what you're saying.
Yeah. Because what's physically happening with light is that all sorts of wavelengths are bouncing off of objects. Like, for instance, all objects give off some heat, which as light is like infrared, which is below the frequencies that we can observe with our eyes. But infrared goggles can see infrared radiation. So like if you put on infrared goggles, you can see heat coming off of objects. And what the glasses do is translate that infrared information into red, green, and blue that our eyes can perceive. So like an object is giving off many wavelengths of light, but our brain, or our eyes specifically, have 3 receptors, like one for red, one for green, and one for blue. And even if there's like a wide range of light coming off of an object, our eyes will only see some amount of red, some amount of green, some amount of blue. So our brain has to deal with those 3 channels of information and add them up in corresponding ways. So if an object's giving off roughly the same amount of red, green, and blue, our eyes kind of add all that up together and call that object white. Whereas if the object's just giving off red and blue, our eyes see just those and it maps that to purple. So then you get the whole color wheel of combinations from that. So I was kind of explaining this to JJ. So yeah, I was like saying a white shirt is incapable of absorbing. So if the sun is hitting a white shirt, the white shirt isn't able to absorb these red, green, and blue frequencies of light, so those bounce off, and that's what our eye sees, is approximately the same amount of red, green, and blue coming off. So that shirt is white because of that. But a black shirt is absorbing those reds, greens, and blues, and then our eyes see that as black. Same with a red shirt. The red shirt is absorbing the greens and blues, but not absorbing the red. So the red comes off, and that's what our eyes see. So the shirt itself is almost more green and blue than it is red.
And so the red light coming off of it is like basically photons that the certain cones in our eyes are perceiving as red.
Yeah.
So at some point, like, light within the extrinsic information is translated into a color with our intrinsic data,
exactly,
which is incredible.
Yeah.
Intrinsic data being the receptors.
Yeah, the brain,
within our eyes and the brain.
So then I was explaining this. I think this analogy helped JJ understand it a bit better, where like if you know the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon cover with the prism, you have white light going in one end and then this rainbow coming out the other side. And if you put some absorber of one of those colors, I'm doing quotes for colors because the material itself would be absorbing certain frequencies of light. But let's say in that prism, you put in some green absorber. So the white light hits the prism.
Mm-hmm.
All the greens are absorbed, but all the rest come out. So you get this rainbow coming out, but there's no green in it. So for instance, if the prism is equivalent to like a red shirt, the white light's going in, all the other wavelengths are getting absorbed, and then just red's coming out.
Right.
So that's kind of what's going on.
Cool. You have the Pink Floyd poster over here on my side of the room, so that's the dark side.
The dark side of the room.
So that was a good visual to look at while you said that.
And that's actually how we analyze what chemicals are on stars or like exoplanets. Is you basically look at what's called the spectrograph, or you use a spectrometer on a telescope that basically does this Pink Floyd thing where you look at this white light coming in, and then you see what gets absorbed, and based on what gets absorbed, you see these lines of darkness in your rainbow, and you can see that there's like certain signatures of elements coming from these planets, so you like can tell how much water or other chemicals are on distant planets.
So the lights are connected to certain elements.
Yeah,
in
so like
some way.
Yeah, so elements have certain structures of electrons around them, and based on the energy levels of the those structures, they give off certain wavelengths of light. So each element has like a fingerprint of what light's coming off.
That's so cool.
I kind of explained that with the X-ray spectrometry that we did with the Mars rover. This is a similar thing where it's like different wavelengths.
That was episode 1 you talked about that, right?
Yeah, that was in episode 1. Yeah. Anyways, divergence into science talk, but
that's good.
Yeah.
While Jordan was telling us all this stuff about light, I was able to see the light through him, like on the other side of the street, through his body. Like I was able to clearly see through your body while you were talking about all of that, which was so trippy. And Jordan was just this like floating face telling me all these like crazy facts while it was like dark out, and like he had a black shirt on, and I was able to see light on the other side of his body. It was nuts. Yeah, I've never been able to perceive a person like that in my life, but it was just making everything extra crazy that he was saying.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just like this ties back to our ability to like self-analyze ourselves. I think we all kind of came away with like motivating realizations about ourselves and certain aspects of our life that we want to improve and can like easily address now that we've kind of noticed patterns within that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all kind of came to that independently, but also as a group, kind of talking through certain problems.
Yeah.
So that was just like the really nice part, is having this deep hope for ourselves and this belief that we can self-actualize and move beyond these programmed patterns. And I think that's the beauty of psychedelics, where it kicks you out of whatever certain funks you're in or whatever program your brain is currently following, and allows you to change as a result. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Totally, that's great. Yeah, I guess my main takeaways are just realizing like the power of psychedelics, but in specific like those pockets of energy that we were picking up on, and how we are so connected to our surroundings and different energy fields that like we could almost take advantage of those energy pockets if you can like tap into that when you're sober, for example, and just like read situations better and hopefully respond to situations better, and read people better and know who to trust and who not to. But also the other big takeaway for me is realizing how truly influential our creativity can be in the world, through art, through inventions, through whatever work you do. There's some level of creativity involved at every job, in every hobby, and not seeing that lightly, and knowing that you can really, even if it doesn't change the world, you can really put a smile on people's faces just through sharing your gifts or talents or skills that you have to build and work at. But as long as something's an authentic signature of who you feel you are, it's going to slap amongst a certain group of people. It's going to really resonate with certain people and really not resonate with other people. But you have to be willing to be critiqued and be ballsy enough to just put your creation out there, knowing that it will be hated, but also so deeply loved by other groups of people. And that's the main message I want to share. It's like, don't hesitate in sharing your creativity, because you never know who it's going to influence in big and small ways.
Yeah, like this is a quote from Westworld in alignment with that, where the creator of this park and robots like is discussing music, and he says Mozart, Beethoven, and Chopin never died. They simply became music.
That's sick.
And I felt that like deep down in me yesterday, where I was like, this is not Jordan playing this. Like, if this man in the 1800s didn't exist and didn't express this pattern into the world, this would not be happening right now.
No.
So it's like he is living on and like kind of moving through me, and this
giving
pattern,
people a different emotional experience because of the beauty of what he wrote.
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
Yeah. So anyways, that's it. That's all I want to talk about.
That's good. Yeah. Your legacy will live on through the art or the things that you produce in the world, and that's a beautiful thing, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yeah. All right, this was fun.
Yeah. So again, if anyone's in the Vancouver area and feels curious about these things, about trying them, Coca Leaf Cafe, it's legal, it's legit, it's safe. Don't overdo it. Listen to the staff at the store. Sign their waiver or whatever. Like, they're trustworthy. And of course, do it in a safe environment if you feel called to that. If you don't, do not do it.
Yeah.
This is by no means a must for all people, but for those who are curious about different states of consciousness, I highly, highly recommend you follow that and get to experience such beauty on levels that you just can't access in the normal waking sober state. But the normal waking sober state is so effing beautiful too,
Mm-hmm.
that just all of life is incredible with the many states that we can experience it with, and I hope that you explore if you feel called to it.
I'll just add, like, the sober state is so beautiful in terms of its functionality, like our ability to adapt. Obviously, like, evolution selected this sober state for a reason.
Yeah, this is
because
ideal.
It's so ideal in, like, the widest general array of scenarios that this is what allowed us to survive for millions of years.
Totally.
But I don't even think, like, the key thing of doing these drugs is to get to those cool conscious states and stuff. Like, that is a really cool side effect of it. But I find the most useful thing is getting insights in that state and bringing it now back into my, like, normal daily life.
Yeah.
And helping that to build who I think I am as a person.
Seeing life through a different framework and realizing that you can bring some of that back into your day-to-day.
Yeah. So that's it.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe if you try any of these things, and enjoy. And if you don't, then enjoy every day of your life and be grateful for every little thing. It's a beautiful world. It's a beautiful life. And we thank you, beautiful people, for listening in.
Later, bitches.